Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you are all doing well. Some really weird news that we have out there today, but let's jump right into it. The Bitcoin block reward will be cut in half next year, and soon market watchers can place bets on exactly when the subsidy halving will happen. According to one estimated date, the halving will occur in late May 2020, but the precise time could shift slightly depending on the pace of blocks on the network and factors such as variance and miner luck. While not exact at this point in time, Ledger X is giving those who analyze the network a means to bet on when the halving will occur. In a blog post announcing the new product, Ledger X contended that such an offering presents a particular effective hedging instrument for Bitcoin miners, explaining Bitcoin is unique in that there is a fundamental economic risk that is binary. To give an analogy, imagine you are an oil producer such as ExxonMobil, and know that one day in 2020, the number of barrels of oil you extract will go down by half forever. But you're not certain which date that will be. That will materially impact planning for investment and operations, end quote. For those unfamiliar with this precise nuance of the Bitcoin network, each block receives a reward in Bitcoin to the miners who successfully creates it. The reward began at 50 blocks. It gets cut in half every 210,000 blocks. The current reward is 12.5, and next year it is going to be 6.25. Without reading too much further, the point is that one, Bitcoin is going to essentially get rarer as less Bitcoin are created by the network. This happens every 4 years. On the other hand, I am not sure if this is clever or if it's kind of diabolical to have people actually bet on exactly when they think that the next Bitcoin reward is going to happen and exactly on what date. They have where is it? It's somewhere around here. I can't find it. Of course I can't. Where they talk about the difference. Here we go. It says to begin with, Ledger X will offer 5 different contracts ranging from the 27th of March, which is the riskiest, so it should have the lowest price, to the 31st of July, which is the safest, so it should have the highest. The dates the contracts will begin selling and trading remains to be determined, but Ledger X expects it to be sometime this quarter. I think this is just another way that people are trying to figure out how to speculate on the crypto market without actually having to speculate on the coins themselves, if that kind of makes a lot of sense. A lot of people trying to figure out, and this isn't a use case, believe me, at all. It's more so if crypto is to become multifaceted, you have to have other things like this. You're going to have people betting on when certain events are going to happen, and this is kind of why we have Algor. Algor is meant to be like a prediction market where people are able to actually bet on events and things happening in the normal world or even the cryptocurrency space, and you can kind of receive money. This is not me telling you to go out and use Algor. I'm kind of explaining the reason for this. So there are a lot of things in the traditional financial markets where you can, it's not the same kind of bets, believe me. It's like, it's more structured and Wall Streety. But this is very interesting to see exactly how this is going to end up playing out, because I can only imagine that a lot of people are, I told you guys before, we always have people who diligently look into different cryptocurrency blockchains. So there are certainly a lot of people who think that they know the exact date of when these things are going to happen. Anyway, just thought that was kind of interesting that somebody decided to make a betting service, and you can, it doesn't say exactly how it's going to be denominated, but I can hope that they're smart enough to actually denominate this bet in actual cryptocurrency, because it would be kind of pointless if it was just simply in cash. Who knows? Either way, the idea is kind of interesting. Anyway, let's move on. Scrolling down a little tiny bit. During the recent Q&A session, Andreas Antonopoulos, who is the author of Mastering Bitcoin, elucidated on the difference between Grin and Beam, the two cryptocurrencies that are based on the same protocol known as Mimblewimble. The protocol enables the coins to make transactions without disclosing information of the amount and addresses involved in the transaction. According to the author, Mimblewimble makes space for the optimization of privacy and scaling at the same time. The protocol was introduced in 2016 by an anonymous contributor who goes by the French name of Lord Voldemort, Tom Elvis Judasor. Without kind of going too much into it, first of all, if you've ever seen Andreas Antonopoulos speak, it is interesting because, how do I say this? He doesn't typically talk about other coins that aren't really fascinating, or like, he won't just randomly talk about other altcoins. So the fact that he's had a Q&A about Beam, almost said Beam and Grimble, Beam and Grin from Mimblewimble. It's quite interesting. He kind of, for those who, only reason I talk about this is because I've seen a lot of people in the comment section asking me exactly what the difference is. So he kind of sums it up very, very fast. He says they have two different approaches to governance. One is very grassroots community development model that is mostly search focus. The other one is more commercially oriented, intended to create a more viable commercial product. Grin has a command line interface for Linux, OS X, and Windows, which is not that easy to use. Beam has a full graphical user interface and mobile wallet, which is easier to use. He said the way that each are advertised or described by the development team is Grin is intended to be a medium of exchange, use it as actual money, and Beam is intended to be a store of value, the same way that we are kind of seeing Bitcoin slowly flowing to the idea of being a store of value. He said Grin and Beam are both open source. Initially, Beam was not open source, but they are now both open source and exchanging code, learning from each other. A lot of people seem to be confused as to not why these coins were created, but more so like their intended purpose. These are, for lack of a better way of really saying it, kind of the new most popular coins on the block. I think personally that their prices are a bit too inflated because no one's really doing anything with them. People are more so speculating. We had news a couple of weeks ago. Someone put $10 million into like a mining operation to exclusively mine Grin. It's kind of a bit insane. I think people are betting a bit too heavy on these coins that have just come out. A lot of people don't think that they're going to have any air quotes real value until the next like 2, 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 years, when they have like an enormous supply of them actually out there. Grin issues new tokens every 60 seconds. So it's 60 coins per minute. This is not going to stop. On the contrary, Beam has a monetary supply that is similar to Bitcoin. I think it's going to have, the exact number, I think it's 210 million coins. I think that's going to be 240 million, somewhere around the 3-digit million, and it's going to be, that is a fixed supply. So they each have different things that they're going to be used for. I think it's kind of interesting once again that he spoke about it, simply because these coins have been spoken about in the cryptocurrency community for at least a year and a half, 2 years, if you kind of want to narrow it down to a really weird time frame, because these are being heralded. They are heralded. They are seen as the coins that even people within Bitcoin are actually interested in, because every other coin that comes out, Bitcoin maximalists kind of call them SHIT coins. So these are the first coins that have come out that aren't being shunned by the Bitcoin community. And this is why they are relatively interesting, because there's clearly a lot of money behind the scenes that are trying to push into this market. But anyway, just thought that was kind of interesting. Let us move on. Next up, that is an odd photo to have such close. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey has become the unlikely hero of Bitcoin social media after he joined the Lightning Network and said he would never own any altcoins. In a tweet that happened yesterday, Dorsey confirmed his participation in the Lightning Network's Torch Initiative, a relay transaction started by a community member last month. Regular commentator Matt Ottle invited Dorsey to send him an invoice via Lightning, which in turn would net him the transaction. Dorsey obliged, leading to a flurry of excited tweets from well-known figures. He said, "This will become one of the most historic tweets by Dorsey, and so we begin the era of hashtag Bitcoin Twitter." Here's the actual tweet for it. Blah, 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 blah. Can I send you the torch? Yes, you can. Of course, why not? As Bitcoin is reported, Lightning Torch aims to produce better awareness. Before I go any further, what did I say 4 weeks ago that we needed to happen for the Lightning Network in order for it to become very, very popular? I said up till November, nobody was really using it. It was a huge uptick in the Lightning Network. Everyone started curating nodes and creating channels, and we're getting news every single week about how much more it was expanding and how cool it was, and everyone's really into it. And I said, the moment that we get like a major figure, a major, for lack of a better word, rich person out there in the world who kind of endorses this and kind of tells other people, hey, this exists, you should start using it as well. I personally believed, even back then and right now, this would be the moment where things kind of got off and started moving forward, because as until now, more or less, it was more of a if you barely knew what Bitcoin was, you probably had no idea what the Lightning Network was. You probably thought it was another coin. So the fact that this has kind of gotten out there, and as I read further, you'll kind of understand why this is very significant. As Bitcoin is reported, Lightning Torch aims to produce better awareness of the benefits Lightning holds for Bitcoin users. Since its debut over a year ago, the technology, which allows Bitcoin transactions which occur almost instantly for hardly any fee, has seen a year of frantic development. It talked about the capacity right here, how much better it was getting. Dorsey, meanwhile, did not stop at Lightning advocacy. In another tweet, he publicly claimed he would not choose to own any other cryptocurrency except for Bitcoin, and also weighed in on the confusion over the difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Someone asked him, they said, "Jack, would you hold any other coins in the future?" He said, "Nope." And then scrolling down, somebody said, "What if Jack is actually talking about Bitcoin Cash?" And he said, "HE double hockey sticks. No." Sorry, just thought I remember that from a TV show. I don't remember which TV show, but I remember hearing that from a TV show. Anyway, he said, "Heck no." Bitcoin Cash, proponents of which control the @Bitcoin Twitter handle, which is a shame, had released a message complaining about Bitcoin's future high fees around the time of Dorsey's endorsement. This is kind of one of the main arguments that people who like Bitcoin Cash continuously complain about, is that Bitcoin has very high fees. And this is why if we did not have a Lightning Network, or if we did not have Liquid, these arguments would make a bit more sense. But we do have Liquid and we do have the Lightning Network. So a lot of these arguments kind of fall into the mud. Jack then said, "Bitcoin is resilient, Bitcoin is principled, Bitcoin is native to internet ideals, and it's a great brand." Previously, the Twitter CEO had also, on several occasions in public forums, said that he foresaw Bitcoin becoming the native currency of the internet. The perspective has appealed to contrast with Twitter's policy, which included a ban on all cryptocurrency-related advertising. However, Dorsey has now said he loves the idea of micro tips on Twitter, improving the quality of content. Such a tipping service already exists, and it was in fact the source of the Lightning Torch. Someone pretty much said, "How amazing would it be if you could tip Satoshis?" He said, "I love the idea." So the speculation is now running wild. A lot of the people who are into, people who control Twitter, who control Amazon, who control Facebook, who control blah, 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 so and so, go and so, they secretly all love cryptocurrencies, but we have no clue as to which cryptocurrencies that they love. Let's say, for instance, they probably are enamored in some sort of way by Bitcoin. They just haven't come out publicly saying this, especially when we had news or speculation that all of these companies could be creating their own cryptocurrency. I would personally love if we did not have to go through that entire foray with Twitter, if we did not have to have Twitter create their own cryptocurrency called like the Twit coin or the Twat coin or something like that. It would be kind of nice if they could just simply go to Bitcoin, especially if we could have them start initiating Lightning payments on their platform. That would be kind of cool. Especially, it's kind of interesting that he said that he was only going to own Bitcoin and that he is for some reason now in love with the Lightning Network. I would love if by the end of spring we had some type of a clarification from Mr. Dorsey that he was planning on at least attempting to start rolling out Lightning payments or Lightning tipping through the platform. If you had a situation where Twitter was announcing that they were going to simply roll out Bitcoin to their, it has to, 50 million, 100 million, if not more than that, users, and everyone would eventually get it and everyone could send these payments back and forth, that would completely change the way that we use Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and the amount of exposure that we would get. I'm not going to name any celebrities, but there's one celebrity. You probably can't stand her. She has like, like 500,000 followers or something like that. No, it's way more than that. It's like 50 million followers. And she gets paid, like $250,000 to put out one Instagram post. If we had someone like that just even say the word Bitcoin or that they were using Bitcoin, I think we would see a very different market very, very quick. Anyway, the point is, it's nice to know that we have someone by our side who controls a major platform. Hopefully this ends up benefiting everyone, if I can say it that way. So here's where the ridiculousness kind of flows out. They have a freaking car crash on here. Okay, anyway, theories have flown around regarding what catalyzed the crypto sell-off seen in 2018. While proposed triggers include stringent regulation, the lack of publicly tradable Bitcoin exchange-traded funds brought to the market, or simply a case of waning interest from the common Joe and Jills of the world, a new hypothesis has just hit the mainstream. Nobuyuki Kobayashi, the trustee of the now disgraced Bitcoin exchange known as Magic the Gathering Online Exchange, has purportedly gone AWOL, that is absent without leave, per damning evidence released by Docs, a publication dedicated to supporting the victims of the $740 million Mt. Gox imbroglio. Okay, why not? The 5-year debacle of the Japan-based exchange, which was hacked for hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, has unfortunately continued. In Docs' first post following a multi-year hiatus, the author released an array of supposedly official bank statements that pertained to Kobayashi and to BitPoint, a crypto upstart centered around the Japanese market. In bank statements, of which were more than 10, purportedly outlined a handful of fiat transactions made from late February 2018 until early June 2018. The transactions from BitPoint pushed the trustee's bank balance up by $310 million US dollars. Here's the actual document that they say that they have found right here. As I cannot read Japanese, I'm going to continue scrolling on by this. While none of the documents obtained from an anonymous source mentioned the sale of cryptocurrency, it assumed that the Mt. Gox trustee saw the colossal influx of funds after liquidating thousands, if not tens of thousands of Bitcoin at spot prices. Gox Docs named it as an evident jab at exposing a shadowed yet well-known event in crypto history. They said, unless BitPoint is being really generous, we'd wager the reason they are depositing billions of Japanese yen into the trustee's bank account is because they were hired to sell the Mt. Gox estates of Bitcoin and of Bitcoin Cash. The investigators, who began their efforts after the Mt. Gox hack shocked the globe, went on to touch on the irregularity and spontaneity of Bitcoin's dozens of deposits into the account of Kobayashi. Gox Docs remarked that the trustee himself was wary of a second Mt. Gox, thus mandating BitPoint to send the fiat it generated from the selling of Bitcoin at market immediately, even if it meant issuing deposits each and every day. And as such, it was concluded that much of Kobayashi's holdings were released to the wind in May, not earlier as other reports suggested. Amazing. Yet News BTC does not. So because it kind of goes on and on and on and on. The idea is that the Mt. Gox situation happened, and then there was a lawyer named Kobayashi who took over the entire situation, and people were complaining for a very long time, and it's still going on right now. This happened in 2012 or something, 13, where people were complaining, I don't have my money, where is my money? This one guy alone was in control of the entirety of the funds. The Japanese court, it says it's somewhere around here, he was told, you are not to sell the actual cryptocurrencies. And for some reason, this is kind of where it gets all really gray and hazy and foggy, because he had hundreds of, millions of dollars that were deposited into his bank account on a daily basis. And one can only assume that he did not win the lotto and they were simply depositing this money into his account. I'm going to assume that he did not win a bet with anybody, and that they weren't simply like, hey, let's give him $1 million every single day over the course of 100 days. Probably did not happen. People have been checking out the dates, and it appears that every single time that there was an actual major sell-off, or that what was assumed to be the Mt. Gox addresses that were selling off Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies onto cryptocurrency exchanges, we would see falls in prices. And they said, it could have simply been a bad timing. It could have been that the market was simply falling down, liquidating itself. People were selling, it could be bad timing, if you will. But this has been going on for quite a long amount of time, especially when the long and short of it is this year, 2019, this is all expected to kind of be resolved. And I think it's supposed to be resolved around July of this year, where the last little bits of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash are expected to be given back to the people who lost their funds. They're expected to actually get the cryptocurrencies back in its entirety. And this is causing jitters all over the place, because no one essentially has real control over the situation. The Japanese courts who told this guy not to sell apparently don't have control of the situation. The guy who was told not to sell has sold off. pretty much crashing the prices. We even had information before in 2018 that a lot of it's very weird timing on everything. Around the time that this guy started selling was around the time when the prices were shooting up. And a lot of people think that he was trying to recuperate funds, because I think the initial thing that was supposed to happen, this is what I remember from 2017 and 18, was that the people were supposed to receive a cash equivalent of the money that they had in there at the exact same at that time. So let's say you had 10,000 Bitcoin and each Bitcoin was worth only $10. You were supposed to receive, this is what I heard from many reports, that you were supposed to receive $100,000, the equivalent of the US dollar amount that you had inside there at that time. And the people were saying, no, you're supposed to receive the cryptocurrency amount that you had in there, which would have meant so that if he's selling at the all-time highs, prices are going up. He didn't know it was the all-time high. As prices are going up, he's trying to recuperate as much dollar funds as possible to be able to kind of just push this all on everybody and say, here's your money, whole thing resolved. But as of sometime this summer, it appears that the Japanese courts have stated not only is he not supposed to sell, but people are supposed to receive their actual Bitcoin and Bitcoin, essentially Bitcoin Cash as well, because of the fork in its entirety back to them. And this is also causing a situation that I mentioned in early 2018 that I'm a little worried about, because if you were into Bitcoin in 2012 and you had accumulated 5,000 Bitcoin at the cost of $1 a Bitcoin, because this was the price where they were back then, and you were broke and you had no money, and someone said in 2019 you're going to receive 5,000 Bitcoin, and you're essentially receiving a 7-digit, 8-digit amount, you're probably going to happily take your Bitcoin and then rush over to Coinbase or someone else who can liquidate that as fast as you can so that you can become an instant millionaire, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these people have lost an enormous amount of faith in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because of the hacks and stuff like that, and they probably don't even care anymore. So this is why I think myself, why we're seeing a huge amount of interest in the cryptocurrency space from Wall Street. They understand that money can be made heavily, and this is why I think we're seeing such a huge rhetoric. Yeah, whatever's being played behind the scenes of these people talking about, increasing the liquidity, increasing the so-and-so, and increasing the infrastructure, because I think, once again, timing. I think everyone is trying to launch their products in February and March, like we've been seeing, so that by the summertime, there's such a huge amount of liquidity in the market as these people are selling off their coins. It either slows it down, or some people, hands in the air, maybe decide not to sell their Bitcoin, hoping for potentially a higher price. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. A lot of this is all, once again, I mean, it's not really, I have to say that it's speculation because no one knows for certain. However, it's not looking good for the guy who was probably selling off all these Bitcoin and Bitcoin caches. Anyway, I'm going to move on from the topic because it's very weird. Hopefully, and I mean, if everybody in Wall Street can get it together by summertime, this won't even be a problem. People dumping a couple $1 million worth of Bitcoin into the market won't have any impact because we'll have billions of dollars flowing through the market. However, if we had someone dropping, $200, $300 million onto the market right now, that would be a bit of a shock to the prices of cryptocurrencies. Just kind of gonna leave it at that. That's an awful photo. My gosh. Okay, let's move on. So we were talking about yesterday why Binance was shooting up in price. Crypto exchange Binance has shown no signs of slowing down during the year-long bear market as it continues to innovate and nurture projects to foster the embryonic industry. Its latest offering is called Launchpad, which has been described as a token launching platform which helps blockchain projects raise funds and increase their reach into the crypto ecosystem. The initiative will be missing one new token launch each month during 2019, according to the official blog post. So the first one that they launched was, where is it? It was the BitTorrent token. And the second one that they launched was the, already passed it. Where are you? The second token project to make Binance's Launchpad is called Fetch.ai, a decentralized artificial intelligence-driven blockchain network. Autonomous economic agents, or AEAs, will be employed to transact without human intervention and represent themselves, devices, services, or individuals, according to the post. It is currently very experimental, but use cases for hospitality, transport, energy, and supply chain sectors are expected. A little creepy, but kind of cool. So this is apparently why the price went up. I have a feeling it's not just a Launchpad. Binance Coin, for some reason, is taking over the entire cryptocurrency space. It's kind of cool, but also little. It's not weird. It's just like, I find it interesting that Binance Coin is doing better than other coins that we've had in the world for quite a long amount of time. But to be fair, the Binance team, they know, and this is why I keep saying that a lot of the projects that we have right now are kind of cool, but the developers have no idea how to actually get their products out there, and the Binance team does, and this is why their coin keeps going up in price, because they keep looking for new use cases and they keep finding them in the other projects that we have or have had for a couple of years. They're more concerned with like private transactions as opposed to having people use their coin. Anyway, I guess to kind of finish things up, this happened a couple of days ago. For those who aren't looking at the screen, it says Italy slips into recession for the third time in a decade. The country's economy shrunk by 0.2% amid weakening growth rates across the Eurozone. We are entering a very interesting period. I have a friend who I was talking to who's into real estate. I doubt that he listens to my videos. If you are, hello. That was a very empty hello, because I know he doesn't listen to my channel. We were talking yesterday about what's happening around the world. It's not looking good for the actual economy and stuff like that. As far as I know that people are going to disagree with me. This is more or less my life. I love looking at economic news. It kind of excites me. No, not that way. I mean like actual, like my heart pumps faster, because I love money. I can't really sugarcoat it any other way. I love reading about these things. I love economic societies, and I love that, like how things shape themselves based off of money and how people mismanage funds. I love it. It's just something I find very fascinating. There are a couple of European countries who are not doing too well right now economically. We also have the Brexit, which is probably going to take place unless something ends up happening over the next like 5 weeks. Yeah. So we also have trade wars and stuff like that going on. We have what are seen as real estate bubbles in certain other countries. We have other countries like fighting with each other over economic policies. I was listening to a podcast yesterday about tariffs and how they actually inadvertently caused the Great Depression. Kind of weird, because we also have a situation right now where multiple countries around the world are throwing tariffs at each other. There was a tariff situation in the 1920s or 30s, can't remember the exact time date, where people were imposing tariffs on other countries, but like it was something as simple as, you know, your tariff on this product went from, 3 cents to 10 cents. That may not sound like a lot, but that is imagine you have a tariff of, $500 on something, random number, and then it goes up to $1,500. That kind of causes people to kind of step back. And we have an economic situation right now where we have a lot of economists, not crypto economists. I mean, like, those old guys, 70 years old, they've been in the game for a very long time. They can usually call within a couple of months as to when there's going to be like a recession or like an economic heavy slowdown around the world. And a lot of them are saying if it does not happen in early 2019, it's going to happen by the end of 2019 or the very beginning of 2020. Like major players in the game are now calling this. Typically, it was just people before who were kind of, they would put their tinfoil hats on and they'd run around in the streets kind of screaming out loud. And now it's like people from JP Morgan Chase and Bloomberg. They're kind of like, yeah, something's wrong with the economy. So we are nearing this period, not to spend too much time on this photo, especially, entering a period where crypto is being built up rapidly by many people around the world. It's being called the stock market 2.0. We have people from the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange talking about that they believe that Bitcoin is going to be a world currency. And on the other side of that, there is the economic world that we once knew is slowly collapsing into itself. It's going to be an interesting 2019, whether you believe so or not. Even if crypto goes nowhere, one side of the economy or the economic world is not going to fare very well, according to economists. Anyway, it's going to be an interesting ride, and this is one of the reasons why I remain so bullish on cryptocurrencies, because I think a lot of people who have been into finance for quite a long amount of time, stock markets, what have you, I think they noticed the cracks early on, maybe even a year or two ago. And this is why they're pushing so heavily for cryptocurrencies, because they probably believe that this is going to be the new thing when it comes to finance. Just thought I'd talk about that for a couple seconds. To kind of finish things off, the market's not really going anywhere. It's kind of the same as it was yesterday. We're into one of those really annoying situations where Bitcoin isn't moving. And like we had this before a couple of months ago. And when we had this was right before number 11 was born. And it was kind of it. Okay, so for those who weren't here, who may be relatively new, or maybe just don't remember the horrific events, we had a situation where Bitcoin was trending just like this. It was a very tight wedge, as people call it, and Bitcoin was around $6,200, $6,400. It was not moving from this number, and then all of a sudden, we had this horrible, nightmarish news that there was going to be yet another Bitcoin clone that was going to be created, and at the moment of its creation, Bitcoin's price split in half, and this is kind of where we've been since that time frame. I can even show you. Give me half a second while this loads. I can even show you exactly when it happened. It's a very horrible period. Maybe it was this quarter. I think it's going to take forever to load because I'm trying to do this. You ever have one of those situations where you're trying to show someone something? Here we go. You're trying to show someone something, and then like it takes like forever and a day. Right around here, we were trending completely sideways. It was a very tight range, and everyone was like, this is it. This is the moment. Keeping in mind this time, these dates right around here. Remember these dates? This is also when people kept on talking about that they were going to release their new latest products, and everything was supposed to have launched. Yeah, I remember the same exact time frame. We went from this price around 6,400, very tight range for a couple of days. People on TV were going completely insane on CNBC because normally what they like to talk about is that Bitcoin's price is, it's going a little insane. Bitcoin's price is going down. Where do you guys think it's going to go? And the price wasn't moving. They had nothing to talk about on TV. It was just this very awkward period where they're like, yeah, prices are trending sideways. This was going on for about a week and some change. Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's vision came to life, and we completely slammed down to around this price, and now we're doing the exact same movements up and down again over and over and over. Very tight formation. So when we get to these periods, what's going to end up happening is that Bitcoin is, those are not the prices. Yeah, okay. I was going to see exactly how long that was going to last. Bitcoin is either, and I know this sounds stupid, you can only go up or down, is either going to shoot upwards, and we're going to go over $5,000 relatively easily, or we're going to fall down in price around to the 2000s, and this is what a lot of people have been calling for. A lot of you've heard them before. You've heard I'm not going to even try and say their names because I'm going to botch some of them, and it's going to be really embarrassing. They've been saying that Bitcoin is going down to around 2,400 to 2,200. The market has to capitulate. Prices have to slam down before we can reach new all-time highs. Bitcoin is down by nothing. Okay. I guess I'm going to end the video here. There's not real much price news going on. I think Binance Coin is still going up, even though it's not really going down. Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision slammed down in price, and someone's trying to pump it. Like always, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I assume we only have a couple days left. I know this sounds very ominous. I'm like, we only have a couple days left. I assume we have maybe by the end of next week before we see this actually do some type of a movement. Either way, I'll be honest with you, I'll be happy. I'm in this for the long haul. I told you guys before, the fact that the stock exchanges around the world are into this now tells me that crypto is going to be around for a very long time. So I'm hunkering down and I'm holding on. If the price shoots up, hip hip hooray, I'm excited because I made money. If the price slams down, especially into the 2000s, I am going to, with all the other coins, I'm going to try and accumulate as fast as humanly possible because I think that even these prices are a little bit incorrect. Anyway, great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I do appreciate all of your support. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Vlad the Impaler, Gil Boa Snake, Rai, Brady Nields, L. Doug, Arthur Yaku, Professor Wally from Gun Bot University, Nick Mangialavori, Travis Haynes, Gordon Nikic, and Yasha Harari. Thank you all very much for your generosity. I do appreciate it. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.